Where am I? Well, somewhere in between Bournemouth, Poole, Ferndown, down on the south coast. And I am on my way to meet Charlie. And we are meeting at the HQ of a very cool brand run by two ex-Special Forces operators, Staz and Louis. Company's THRUDARK. So we're going to head down there. We're actually going to go for a lovely ride down along the Dorset coastline. It's another beautiful day. Was it 24 degrees? Perfect. Really looking forward to having a spin in the countryside. And then finding out a little bit more about the boys, their background in the Special Forces, their special boat service on the Desert X today. It's just such a joy. It's such a joy to ride this bike. This makes me feel like a kid every time. You know, the weather's like this and the beautiful countryside. What's not to love?
Here we go, there he is on his lovely Triumph bobber. Good little bike. Ooh, look at this. Croft Castle. Well, that's a big old castle up in the hill there. It's beautiful around here. Really, really pretty. Just outside Southampton, just on the other side of the bay, there's a little inlet. And we're going to go for a little coffee. Little motorcycle ride. We got the guys here, so if any action happens, I'm sure he can take care of us, look after us. Wow, very pretty place. Love all these stone tiles. Just most of the weight on the roof. Whew. A little bit of thatch. And a very treat. You can see why you come down here all the time, can't you? It's a real destination, especially with the weather like now. It's going to be mayhem down here, I reckon. You can see the traffic just stretching out for miles. Anyway, he just climbed Everest, one of the fastest guys. I can almost preempt when he's going to go a little bit faster and overtake. And there it is there. You see, he's just got that little idea. There's the idea. There it is. He's off. And I can stay with him because I can see it. There's just his movements in his body. That is fabulous to see. I love riding motorbikes with people, and we're just heading our way back to do the podcast now, having had a little bit of a ride. Yeah, loving it.
Hello, and welcome to The Nod, a mindful motorcycle podcast. This episode is powered by Devitt Insurance. Isn't it, Charlie?
It is motorcycle insurance, the greatest in the world.
Trusted by UK bikers for over 85 years. It's a long time. You must be doing something right. Whether you ride one bike or a whole garage full, Devitt's got you covered. From single bike policies to multi-bike insurance that can save you time and money, they make it easy to help protect what you ride.
Do you think Lawrence of Arabia was insured by them?
Lawrence,
he was on a Breath Superior, wasn't he?
Could have been. Yeah.
Vincent Black Shadow. That's what he wrote.
I'll ask ChatGPT.
Be interesting.
Devitt would insure a Black Shadow.
They would have insured him.
And they do tailored insurance quotes,
yep.
Practical prices, and it's highly rated on Trustpilot. Head to devittinsurance.com today to find out if Lawrence of Arabia was insured. Today we're joined by Staz. Full name?
Anthony Staz Stazicker.
Anthony Staz Stazicker.
Yeah.
Wow. A classic nickname pulled from the depths of just shortening your surname.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Great. So,
was it always Staz when you were a kid in school as well?
I think it's just inherited, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I remember my granddad being called, on my father's side being called Staz, then my dad, then myself, and then me and my older brother. And sort of the kids haven't, my boys, I've got 3 boys now, haven't kind of incorporated that yet, I think.
But it's coming.
It's coming, yeah.
Well, Staziker's not an Anglo-Saxon name.
It indeed is, actually. So when I used to play football at quite a high level as a kid, and I represented England schoolboys.
Oh, wow.
Went around the world playing everybody. Went into Poland to play Poland, and they were the only team to beat us, actually. A funny little story about them turning up in their plimsolls and their shit kit, and we had looked at all the business, and we thought, fuck it, look at these idiots. And they absolutely spanked us. But at the end of it, they came up and were like, oh, interestingly, can we speak to Stazicker? He's obviously Polish. They put me in their Polish local newspaper. Look at this English schoolboy, Polish name and descendants, and then I actually cut that out of the paper, took it home, and it wasn't until you get a little bit older, and I used to get loads of shit from the lads as well. Not shit, but a bit of banter, and then obviously Ancestry and all those things came along online. So I looked online, and I've actually got a beautiful sort of printout now in my downstairs toilet where all the memorabilia and shit hangs. But it is Anglo-Saxon. Right. So it just changed over time, the spelling and the name. It was Staz Acre land, all that kind of stuff, and then Iker, and it just changed over time. But it's one of the oldest Anglo-Saxon names.
Well, there you go.
Bosh.
Yeah. There you go.
Great.
Yeah. Wow.
Today we're joined by a man who knows a thing or two about operating at full tilt. Yeah. Not just on the road, but on the battlefield and in business. Ooh. This is hammed up. Former UK Special Forces, co-founder of THRUDARK, the elite level performance gear brand, forged in adversity. And no stranger to grit, risk, or resilience. It's Staz.
We can give you a copy of this.
Fantastic.
I might use that. From war zones to wild trails, he's built a brand rooted in authenticity, purpose, and pushing limits. And if you know the weight behind the word THRUDARK, you know that's no small thing. I mean, I don't know the weight behind. We'll get onto that.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. We're talking about the mindset behind the mission, the overlap between motorcycles and the military, and why hardship isn't something to run from, but something to ride into.
I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
For something that just took me a second.
It's wild.
Write an
now,
intro to Staz from THRUDARK.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild. But THRUDARK, why? Let's because it's a really interesting name.
Yeah.
So how does that come about?
It's also worth obviously saying. Obviously, you guys have just met Louis, the other co-founder. I don't want to sort of ham up like I've built this all on nothing but my bare hands.
Yeah, I did say it does say co-founder in this. It's quite.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It's generous in that.
Oh, good.
Sense,
and probably more 80 Louis, 20 me. Truth be told. For us, we did want it to mean something. So for us, THRUDARK, we operated, in the military. Through darkness, and also we wanted it to mean something to other people, civilians. We're trying to sort of cross that or cross that or close that gap between military and specialists and civilians in the outdoor space. So people go through dark times in their life, and again, that's all individual to people. And we wanted to lean into that as well, and then linked to that is our mantra: endeavour through adversity. Yeah, we kind of really sort of spoke to me and Louis as individuals, and we'd spent so long in the military, seeing the best and worst in humanity. So that kind of really spoke to us in terms of the name.
We've already found out you're a representative footballer for your country. So Wigan born.
Yeah, still have family up there. My parents split when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I relocated with my mum, she remarried, and my brother. We moved into Mansfield or Rainworth, a pit village in Nottinghamshire. So sort of dragged out of what I knew in school and friendships and all that. So that was my kind of first test of difficult time. I didn't sort of feel or sense that growing up. I was just a happy-go-lucky kid, outdoors all the time, not necessarily academic. I just remember being outdoors all the time and just getting up to mischief like most young boys do. And being sporty, across kind of rugby and athletics and that kind of stuff. Anyway, ripped, moved, relocated. Now I've got a stupid accent. I've been dropped into a school in Nottinghamshire, sort of finding your feet, a few scuffles, find the pecking order. I remember walking into school for the first days, looking on the field, thinking, "Where's the fucking rugby pitches?" Nothing. It was all football. Yeah. So I then went from a fairly decent rugby player into a very shit footballer. Starting off in goal, all 2 foot fucking 3 of me, just having a torrid time of it. And then from there. Just sort of settled into that kind of life as you do. Again, not very academic, didn't mind school, but was mainly there for the fucking social. Loved the kind of that kind of group and finding friends. And then I guess I had my really first test in life around about, I was 11 actually at the time. Thankfully, me and my brother were visiting my dad at the time at the weekend, but my mum passed away suddenly overnight. She had a brain hemorrhage. So 33 years old, you know, she was doing very well. At the time, we didn't know. She was had a really good position and a job in a bank, but she was also training to be a lawyer. I don't know if that sort of contributed to that. We don't know.
Oh, you mean because she was
Maybe,
pushing herself,
potentially.
looking after 2 boys, bank.
Yeah, the stress, the kind of working all hours, you know, a very good sort of job, pushing herself. She was the only female sort of, let's say, MD in the country at that time for the bank. So she was doing, you know, and trying to sort of make a go at life, and probably for us too. And then, overnight things changed, you know. So that was my first real kind of sense of life and hardship. So we came back that weekend. A little bit of time spent at hospital. She was on a life support machine. The decision was made to ultimately, you know, turn that off, and she passed away. So a very difficult moment going back into school there. I remember actually thinking as a young boy, as a man, selfishly.
How old were you at this
I was 11. I just didn't want the attention.
Sure,
I didn't want the fucking pity and people, is everything all right? So I buried it all and just didn't really deal with anything. At the time, nobody to really speak to. I had an older brother, but he was we didn't really have deep and meaningful emotional conversations like that. We're now in a house with a stepfather who we don't get on with. It's just quite a turbulent, difficult relationship. Thankfully, my mum's parents, my grandparents, moved down. They relocated from Wigan. They bought a little bungalow in the village. Me and my brother then moved in with those guys. Small little sort of 3-bed bungalow. And that was brilliant for me.
Your dad wasn't an option?
No, at the time we were in school, and the decision was made, rightly or wrongly, to, you know, move in and stay there.
Have some consistency.
Yeah, and I suppose your grandparents, if your mother was 33, your grandparents weren't, they were in their late 40s.
Yeah, 50s. So they left everything. I mean, what a selfless kind of act of love and commitment to us. And at the time, you don't recognise or feel that, but I can now sort of connecting the dots back. And actually, you know, my fucking hero, my granddad, who passed away last year, you know, he was a really, really sort of strong role model for me. Old traditional values, a wonderful man, sort of well respected, very kind, honest, open to everybody. I kind of learnt a lot from him through sort of watching how he interacted with people. Took me everywhere playing football, never missed a football match, rain, shine, everything. From school level all the way up to sort of playing county. I was with professional teams, and then England schoolboys as well and everything else. So quite a turbulent time. And then now I move into sort of secondary school, and again, not very academic. I'm there for the sort of shits and giggles, put all my eggs in the basket of football. Like most failed footballer stories, I got injured at the time, represented England at the time, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I kind of put everything into that.
So you were looking at the point to get signed by.
How old were you
at the
time
when you got injured? When was?
So I was sort of 16, right on the kind of level. I was at the time at Fulham, doing very well. I went home. I used to love motocross bikes.
Fulham junior team.
Fulham, but I was then training with
the academy.
Yeah, with the academy, and then with the reserves and everything else, and it was going really well.
What position did you play? He's probably not still in goal by this point.
No, I can't if I can get rid of that guy out of goal. So I was sort of right wing back for England schoolboys, but I could play sort of centre back, centre mid, but they put me in at right back for Fulham. Thankfully, when you turn up to a new team, there's always that, fucking, what position do you play? From all the kids,
worried,
shit, we haven't got a right back. So that was all sort of seamless.
Yeah. Because if you say striker, because everyone wants to be a striker, don't they?
I couldn't finish a good dinner. So
my daughter she's 14, she just got scrapped from an academy.
Football?
Yeah, she loves it, but she just got dropped from the academy in the rotation because they had too many right wings, and she wasn't the best one.
It's a harsh sort of world.
Brutal lesson.
It's
14,
brutal.
Yeah.
But it's kind of I went through that. But I also loved like motocross. So when I was on the off season, it was like we had to chat. Guys, go back, keep your fitness up. Get anything stupid. Yeah. Straight back home, boys. We're going out to the track on the motocross. Yeah, off we went.
Where did that motocross love come from? Was that family?
So I think it was through watching, and not influenced through family. Nobody was really into it. It's just friends and social groups. But I used to love watching X Games growing up, and that didn't just include motorbikes, but it was all the freestyle stuff and all the racing,
BMXing,
skateboard, anything that was kind of a little bit different, a little bit gnarly. Loved like metal and all that sort of stuff. So I just loved the sense of enjoyment, that feeling of being on a motocross bike. I had a Honda CR125, little two banger, just wring its neck, and just loved it. used to go to tracks, but mainly used to go into the desert near me, into the Sherwood Forest and everything else, get chased by the cops off there. But actually I was just on a track, just going around a corner, literally just putting my leg out normal, and I just sort of dislocated and popped my knee, and I just knew at the time, I was like, oh, I've done myself a mischief here. Sort of pushed the bike back. I remember Grandad saying as well, don't fucking get injured, didn't really want me to go. Should have listened. Anyway, I went back after sort of 4 weeks hobbling in. They're like, what have you done? Not playing football, I've hurt my knee. Had an MRI, shit, you need surgery. All the club paid for private surgery, rehab. Made it back for the season. First game back, first tackle, my knee went again. And I just remember thinking, I fucked it. I was hitting the ground in frustration. Released from there and then came back, started playing semi-professionally, rehabbed my knee again, and it wasn't right. But I was sort of now into college, on a BTEC sports diploma course, sort of not knowing where to move or where to go in life. Then I started representing the British colleges team, obviously because I was still quite a high level, and then I went out to America to play their all-star team, got scouted by a university over there, University of South Carolina. They offered me a full scholarship. Wow. So for me, I was like, the dream's alive.
Well, college soccer.
University, yeah. And it was a full scholarship. For me, that was a fucking ticket.
Yeah,
to, I'm back in. Filled out some amateur eligibility forms incorrectly. I had my plane ticket, everything booked to go over there. The guy that I was going to be living with and all the stuff, that was 2 weeks out from leaving. And these forms came through, filled them in. And, you know, basic stuff. Have you ever been paid to play? Yes. Have you ever had a contract? Yes. Have you ever received royalties, boots, bags? Yes. Quite a thing in the UK. But their league or the university then deemed me to be a professional.
It was amateur.
And there's a really distinct line between professional and amateur. So they said, the coach rang me, what fuck, don't worry, I'll try and sort this out. Couldn't, we can delay it for a year. But at sort of 18 years old, I thought, a year, that's fucking, so I can't even see how far that is, forever. And then I just went a bit mad, just fucking woe me, life shit, you know. I've had too many fucking, you know, shit sandwiches here. And I started working in a local council-run gym as a gym instructor, did that for a couple of years. And then at the time, sort of Iraq was kicking off, the Twin Towers, all that sort of stuff happened. And on the TV, I remember seeing these Royal Marines on the TV. And at the same time, that brilliant advert of 99% need not apply, these really cool adverts from the Marine.
I remember,
I thought, fuck, you know, and I was having a real kind of existential crisis, as much as you can at that age, of thinking, what happened? I was going to do this, and I was fucking, I still feel like I've got so much more to give. I've got this fire in my belly, and I feel like I can do something. So from there, I just then moved in, looked to start joining the military. Nobody in my family had been in the military before, so there's kind of no influence there. It was kind of left field, really. I remember going back telling my grandparents, like, what? Okay, a little bit, are you sure? Yeah. Walked into the Armed Forces Careers Office in Nottingham, met by quite an imposing character. He was a Royal Marine, Green Beret on, and I went in there with the view of, what's the fucking hardest military course I can join? And it was the Marines or the Paras, and he was a Marine, so jump up on this bar, if you can bang out 10 pull-ups, we'll get you signed up, sort of sketch, so 10 pull-ups.
We can take the King's Shilling and
I was like, come on,
Is that crazy that's like,
it's just,
can you do a pull-up?
Right,
You're in the army,
good.
Exactly. So from there, I then went through that process, and I think there's quite similar.
And the knee didn't come up because often an old injury can be a real problem.
Yes, so you're right, and you have to do full medicals to get in. But because I'd had my surgery privately paid for, it wasn't on my NHS records. So I sort of managed to slip in, didn't tell them about it, obviously.
Yeah, because once you're in, then
I passed all the physical basic tests and all the fitness bits and pieces. And for me, I was like, fuck, I've got a North Star here. I've got something a bit of purpose. I feel like I've got something to go for.
And at that stage, had you thought that your football career had kind of been over then?
Yeah, and then I thought, in fact, rewind actually, before the Marines, not a lot of people know this is an exclusive. I actually went to the RAF. I wanted to be a firefighter. I was like, that sounds like a cool job.
Okay.
So I applied to do that, turn up to the RAF to do an induction, couple of days, and I was crawling around, doing all this shit. And I walked away from there going, I don't think I want to do that. It's not very cool, and it's not a bit of me. All sounds very sweaty and hot.
Firefighters, well, and doing a great job.
Yeah, you get to a certain point and it's not going to go anywhere, is it?
And also I went in there with the view of I'll do it for a couple of years, get qualified, because at the time you couldn't join, like I was like, I can't join Nottinghamshire, like there was just no applicants, but you could get trained and then 2 years and I can go in, it's a fast track way. And then one of the first things they fucking said to us when we sat down was, if you're sat here and you're trying to use this as a fast track to get to, this isn't the place for you. And I thought, fucking, they've got my card. That's my genius plan. Rumbled. So then into the Marines, 32 weeks, I say basic training, probably the most arduous basic training course that you can do.
32 weeks?
32 weeks
Wow.
At Lympston in Exmouth on the estuary. I remember just getting off the train there, a fucking young boy, really, wet behind the ears, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, an oversized suit. I think it was my brother's or my granddad's.
Yeah.
In suitcase.
Ironing board under your arm.
Yeah, you stand up and you're just getting, stand still, what the fuck's going on here? You walk up, there's your accommodation, follow us over the barbers, head shaved, and you're sort of in it. But actually, very quickly, I kind of fell in love with it. And one thing I thought that I would be good at, or at least excel at, is the fitness. So I thought, I'm fucking fit. I know that I should be okay, but actually, will I like the soldiering aspect of it?
No.
I don't know. I used to like running around in the woods as a kid, playing
Playing
Rambo like we all did.
that.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah, very similar. But actually, I also like that element of it as well. And I ended the 32 weeks training. I got the King's Badge Award, so the best recruit, the horn, basically the brown noser.
Yeah.
And then I also got the PT medals for the fittest guy in the troop. So I thought, fuck. And actually, I really enjoyed it. And I was then excited. I thought, God, this is me. And I felt a real sense of achievement and pride. You get your green beret and it's prestigious.
Well, and you're part of a family, aren't you? And it's and there's a future.
Yeah, exactly that. And you get the commando flashes on. And there was probably, now looking back, an element of me being insecure, and not confident in myself and wanting to prove to other people that I was capable, that I was strong, that I was, all those things.
Is that a combination of, obviously, your childhood losing your mother and not having
possibly
maybe the security and that,
and
people, and then the
being,
football.
Yeah, the failure from
that
sense of failure, and look, Mansfield is one of those towns. It's a hard town that you're fighting all the time. You're scrapping, and then you start thinking, what does it mean to be a man and be hard and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, well, I can prove that I am, and I can join that sort of band of merry men, and and off the back of that, I went. Now this is 2005. I'm sort of 22, 23. I go to 40 Commando in Taunton and I meet Louis actually there, and we go off on mountain training, do that for
Was he training as well? Were you?
We weren't in training together, so he was sort of 6 months to a year ahead of me.
Okay.
So he's in there. He's a lance corporal. He's you look around quickly.
Was he beasting you, or was he being nice?
No, he was super cool, really nice guy. And as the new guy, you're looking around, fucking like being a new school, isn't it? Somebody fucking help me. You probably saw the panic in my eyes.
Yeah.
And very, very, we got on immediately, very well immediately. I think he just felt sorry for me, and I've been hanging on to his fucking chain ever since. And then we went off and did mountain training, did all this cool stuff, went around the world. I did my first operational tour then, and on that first operational tour to Afghanistan in Kabul, the capital, I remember it was a fairly kinetic-ish tour, not as bad as the guys were having it in Helmand. But I remember being on the base, and one of the rotations or jobs you had to do was as the guard security. Yeah. I remember sort of on one day stood in the security, fucking boring, telling shit stories to your mate, and in rolled two pickup trucks, like soft skin, civilian style pickup trucks that look like local trucks. And next thing they put their passes out, and guys jump out, and they're British, white, long hair, beards, civilian clothing, tattoos, different weapon systems. They just look like fucking rock stars. My fucking little eyes lit up. Who the fuck are these guys? And they were all super.
They all had beards.
All beards and just friendly. It's sort of stereotypical special forces guy, and the guy's like, they're fucking in the SBS, they're special forces. They're shrouded in mystery. What are they doing? Fuck, they're out there doing weird, doing Gucci stuff. They're doing James Bond shit out there.
Well, and they had their own compound as well.
No, well, yes, they do, but they just used. They could go anywhere they pleased, and different bases for. They were probably just coming in for lunch or something, or having a meeting or getting some, whatever. The next thing in my little brain was, I want to be one of those guys, and what do I need to do that? So I went back.
Because it was cool, or you've said a few times you tried to pick the hardest thing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and if you sort of there's a theme, here of trying to I just love beasting myself. Yeah. From there, I went back, and that was it. Then I had the bit between my teeth, and I thought, right, what do I do? I then got drafted up to FPG up in Scotland, Fleet Protection Group. They look after all the nuclear deterrent on the west coast. And for me, then it was training. I was in Scotland, used this as a training ground. I then thought, well, what can I do? I'm still quite relatively young in my career. And again, self-doubt creeps in. Maybe I've not experienced enough, I'm not fit enough, not strong enough, but I won't know unless I try. And from there, I thought, well, what's the hardest course that I could do within the Marines that would potentially set me up for success for selection? And that was the Royal Marine Sniper course. You know, again, a very prestigious course. Loved it, did very well on that, sort of finished with a distinction. And I thought, fuck, I feel okay now. I feel like, all right, I'm now... Yeah. You never feel ready, right, for anything that you do in life.
No, for sure. But you've got a tradable skill, haven't you, that you can offer.
Yes. For me, I was delaying putting in for selections. 2 selections ran every year. There's a summer course and a winter course, you know. And I sort of kept thinking, I need to get a bit fitter. I need to get a bit more skilled. I need a little bit more experience. And actually, one of my friends put me in for a briefing course. That's a course that you do. It's a pre-selection course. You come down here. They beast you up and down for sort of a week. Test your navigation.
Testing.
Yes.
Okay.
So we both turned up to that, we both passed it, and then we both were on the next selection. So I was on selection in 2008, in summer of 2008.
Wow, so not that long ago, really.
No, well, yeah, so, yeah, and for me, especially from joining the Marines, it was quite quick, so 3.5 years, I'm on sort of selection. Yeah, again, very, very fucking arduous, very, very difficult course, but the hardest thing I'd done physically and mentally.
So you kind of prove that you're physically capable, you prove you've got the skill set to
jungle
operate,
soldiering, yeah.
And it just comes down to whether you're going to be part of the team or not.
And then, the resistance to interrogation stuff. You pass that, then you do some other skills and bits and pieces, a lot of shooting and bits and pieces on the ranges.
And you're kind of done by that point.
Well, you can fuck up, yeah.
But the shooting was good because you'd already been a sniper, right?
Yeah, but a lot of the shooting they do, it's not long range. It's all the close quarter combat stuff. So it's all very quick, instinctive, reactive shooting. And then the fucking learning curve is just a hockey stick. You know, although it is, they say it's the basics done, but to a very high standard. It's basically monkey see, monkey do. Watch this. This is how you do it. Fucking do it. And the standard's set. And very quickly you either get on that train or it fucking keeps going, and you either jump off or you fall off, I guess. And when I joined in 2008, well, end of 2008 now, 2009, I went straight into a squadron, straight out on operational deployment, and it was just, very, very eye-opening.
Brutal.
Yeah. And that sort of 10-year period there. Afghanistan mainly.
Yeah.
But that 10-year period was, for me, my most defining period of my life, I guess. It really sort of set me up in terms of the person I am today. And it was, not arguably, it was the busiest operational output the unit had ever seen, and it was just rotating through constantly. We were out most nights, hunting high-value targets, doing all the quote-unquote cool stuff that you join to do. Lots of close shaves, and bits and pieces, and unfortunately losing friends and everything else along the way. But for me, it was fucking the best job ever in the world. I invested so much time, energy, and effort, and myself into that. I sort of gave everything, but it's probably one of the most selfish jobs in the world as well. It takes its toll on families and everything else. So,
well, you can't do anything else, can you?
No,
really?
No.
And when you're on the deployment, it must be very strange because I've met a bunch of special forces guys over the years, and I went to Afghanistan and entertained the troops in Afghanistan for a little bit with Ross Noble. We went to Camp Bastion in Kandahar.
You might have been there.
And, maybe. But and then
you obviously don't. It wasn't a good show. If you don't remember it. Yeah.
I met up with a bunch of SS guys and hung out in their
camp
and stuff like that. And we walked into one of the compounds, and they had these cars covered with tarpaulin, and one of the girls said, "Oh, are those? What cars are those?" And he goes, "Oh no, those are our invisible cars." And they looked at him and they go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, no, we have to put the covers over them so we know where they are." And I was pissing myself. No. Anyway, but I have to say, I was there for 5 or 6 days, and a lot of the evenings we spent there, had an amazing time with all of you guys, and they really made us welcome and learnt some really amazing stuff what you guys get up to. It was just go out, find the Taliban and sort it out.
Yeah.
That was the job, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. I'd sort of personally ticked all the boxes I wanted to tick. I met my now wife, Ruby, and at the end of my career, as you start to promote, you sort of start moving slowly further away from the cool shit. And I was the chief sniper instructor, which is a great role, involved with a lot of, not just sniping, but small arms fire, pistol, carbine, all that kind of stuff. Great job. I loved instructing people as well. I kind of got a lot from that and sort of met a lot of the other guys through the squadrons. But for me, there was a sort of a decision point, right? You continue to promote and then start moving further and further away. And
were you missing the coalface?
Yeah, I was. But also I was sort of thinking, fuck, I'm like a cat with 9 lives. I've used up 8. And when you start getting family and kids, then something sort of clicked when I was sort of going out and things were getting a bit hairy. I started thinking, this is a bit, whereas I never felt that before.
Yeah.
I was kind of cavalier, very fucking, just.
And do you think that comes with age?
I think so.
As you get older,
for sure.
Well, and of course with children, obviously,
for sure. So I think probably the combination.
So you lose your nerve a little bit.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And I thought, God, it wasn't a point where I was, not wanting to get involved or to fight, but there's just a sort of a slight switch, and it sort of made me think. And the jobs that were coming up, I thought, I don't really want to do that. But now I'm still young enough. I'm sort of 33. I can still pivot and do something. And Louis was at the same sort of position. And actually, we were doing some parachuting out in America. Louis was actually slightly differently. He had a medical discharge, so he had a bad back, like most of us, fucking Alsatian hips. And he was kind of like, look, I'm leaving, I'm going to punch out in sort of 6 months to a year. And I said, well, I'm sort of at the same point, the wind's out of my sails a bit. I'm ready to leave as well.
Wow.
We loved the outdoors, we loved all the technical stuff. Because we operated in all the fucking areas of the world, from the Arctic, the jungle, the desert. We were like, we've worn, quote unquote, the best kit. I still think we could do a better job here. And why have they done this? And why does nobody do that? We set off then with this idea, this vision, Thrudark, was kind of born, if you will. Louis then went around the world twice, met everybody once, ended up in China, a big Guangzhou at a big convention. I'm going to go over there. There's this huge textile convention and fucking cards and all this sort of stuff. And I remember him messaging me. At the time, it was a sort of a red list country where, as operators, not allowed to travel there. But he sort of went under the radar. I was just sort of getting ready to leave. He came back and dropped on the desk all these fucking cards, and we started sampling. I got a few comedy samples from a factory out there, even for me, short arms, and just, fuck, this is going to be harder than we thought. We stumbled across a guy on Instagram, a guy called Jeff Griffin, a fantastic British designer, works in London for some big houses. He's got his own fashion brand, Griffin. Great stuff. He loved the military. He leaned into that in terms of his designs and his aesthetic and camouflage prints. And we were like, this looks fucking cool. And then from there, introduced a factory in Italy, in Milan, a very good factory that we still use to this day for some of our stuff. And we felt like we were off to the races. And then we got involved with all the other business stuff. It's worth mentioning Steve Clark, our founding investor, a good friend of ours.
So did he come in, because at that stage, you're going down to this factory in Italy. I've had experience with the rag trade in Italy, and they're expensive and hard work. Yeah. So how at that stage, so early on, how did you fund it all?
So funding was a big one. So we had an initial investment. Me and Louis put sold my fucking motorbike. Everything went into that.
You must have been very serious about
I know, I was like,
selling your fucking bike.
It's one of those traumatic moments. I can still remember it clear to this day. The guy coming to pick it up, it was a Harley 48 Sportster. I fucking love that thing. Picking it up, and the guy's like, "Are you sure you want to sell?" I'm like, "No, I don't. Obviously, fucking want to sell it. Hurry up!" And
I want to throw all my money into
just
go. Yeah,
fucking cash. But for us, it was about the commitment, getting involved with it, and actually putting our own, literally, money where our mouth was. And Steve got involved. I think for him, it was a bit of a, look, I like these guys, good guys. I like the idea. I'll help them out, but they're probably not going to fucking nail it. And he was he's since said, he was like, I believed in you two and loved the story and the authenticity and everything else, but he was like, until a product landed, he was like, I just wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And I'm sort of fast forwarding now, a long process of sampling bits and pieces, and we end up launching with 3 products. fucking geniuses. We launched an Arctic Parker in summer, and then another couple of pieces. One that we still run to this day, a hybrid jacket, and then a Zodiac jacket, and t-shirts, caps, hoodies. That was it.
Usual
But
stuff, yeah.
website, maybe 5-6 products on there. That was it. We're in this building, but upstairs on the top floor. And then over the course of like 16, 18 months, we started taking over the whole fucking floor, you know, just lumping, no too dissimilar to any startup, doing everything yourselves, just me and Louis spinning plates, doing everything, anything and everything within the business, but learning the ropes, you know.
And you guys, I mean, you've just done Everest, and you designed all your own wear for that. And you could, you know, I suppose what was a real benefit for you guys is when you started doing all the photography and everything to sell the brand, you were the real, you guys were the real deal, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
so whatever you were photographing was, you know.
Yeah, so we were
people could believe you.
Yeah, we were validating the kit ourselves, and we had the kind of sayings of it. Yeah, but we don't just stand by the kit; we stand in it. And I think very early on, the early adopters really sort of bought into that and liked it, and was like, "Fuck it, it's you guys," you know. And for a while, when we left because of all the disclosure stuff and official secrets, we blurred our faces, which actually added to a bit of the kudos. And then it comes to a point where it gets bigger, and you're just getting there's Louis and Staz, and no, you know. But so we came off that and.
Do you think the timing was a big part of that? Because you've kind of launched this last 10 years, I guess, has seen a real removing of the veil of special forces operators, you know, the TV shows, all the profile that, you know, Foxy and the guys have risen to, and the books that have come out, and there just seemed to be a lot more visibility on the individuals than the mystique that always used to be. Like you weren't ever in the public eye.
Yeah, no, you're right, Ben. I think, and it's something you are very acutely aware of and conscious of. What we don't want to do is do anything that would bring the unit into disrepute or put the lads at danger. But it's a conscious decision for yourself. You put your head above the parapet, rightly or wrongly, you know, it splits opinions. But for us, we kind of had to. And actually, one of the older guys said to us when we were leaving, he was like, just do what you need to do. And for us, we sort of felt comfortable in the fact that we're not giving away secrets. We're not. There are people out Far East training people, you know, skill sets, which I think for me is slightly on the fence or close to the line. And we were like, look, all we're saying is that was what we used to do, not anymore, but we're using all that experience and putting it into technical outdoor clothing. Now, you know, I don't think that's that bad. I'd like to think that we had good reputations, and we're sort of highly regarded. We're not sort of bad people.
Yeah. But all of that kit you were using before was made by someone else anyway.
Yeah,
it wasn't
of course.
made within the special forces, was
yeah,
it?
And
So
it's you
it's
sort
a
of
soft transition.
You sort of dance that line as best you can.
But your wife must have been. Was she relieved when you finally decided to go out?
Yeah, well, we'd only met as I was sort of the last 2 years, so yes, she was.
So you were, but she hadn't seen the worst of it.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy obviously to leave, and then kind of jumped into this, and naturally people with our skill sets, we would fall, you know, into high paid security jobs and close protection jobs, and we had to do a bit of that as we were leaving. You sort of through dark, right, Louis, I'm going to go and work for a bit, and then a bit of a cash in, and right now you do it, or we do it together, and you're working while you're away. And we did some great jobs, for cherry pick jobs for like the NFL, Super Bowls, and looking after owners, teams, and all that sort of stuff. But actually it just reinforced why I left, and that I didn't want to do that, you know. But my fallback as well was, with most plans, I didn't have a plan B. I just fucking got stuck into plan A, and put all my energy, effort and time into that. But I did think, well, worst case scenario, if it just turns into a fucking ball of chalk, I can always go back, you know, and
do close protection, and
even back into the unit.
Oh, back into the unit.
Even back into the unit.
And train.
And rewind 10 years ago, I would have chopped my left bollock off for that. You know, I would have given everything to be an operator. I was just so invested in that.
Yeah.
And it's weird how that happens over time. You sort of
but
do
people
it.
People often talk about plan B, and you've got to have a plan B. I don't know.
I
my life, I understand it, but
it makes sense.
It makes sense. But yeah, plan A has been hard enough, and I've you just barrel on, isn't it? It's like when you're a kid, and I really wanted that YZ125 to go racing, and Dad said, look, you're going to have to sort that out for yourself. I'm not not paying for that. And
quickly how quickly that
and
motivates.
unbelievable how motivated. So if you can put that motivation into getting that bike or that car or that whatever, which is highly achievable for anybody.
It means even more. Is that?
Yeah, you can get it. So if you apply the same attitude to work, and then I'm sure the Special Forces taught you that nothing comes easy, and so only what you put in is what you get out. And the more you put in, the more you get out.
Exactly.
So that's all it is. Hey guys, I just wanted to say that Quadlock are joining us this season on the Nod Pod, and as we all know, fantastic brand.
Great bit of kit, and check out all the links in the bios. There's a little discount code for all of you lovely people to go and get some Quadlocks yourself.
Yeah, I've been using them for years.
We've had a number of ex-military guys on the podcast and met lots in the past, and we're talking about sort of your motivation, sort of the childhood, and the motivation for leaving, and lots of people have left. Aldo, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, I think to paraphrase, went to war, didn't really like it, left after 10 years as a sniper in the Marines. Then we've got Foxy, who I know really well, obviously was medically discharged and suffered a lot with his mental health through the things that he'd done and places he'd found himself in, ditches, and just not wanting to be there anymore. And then Tix and his reasons for leaving, and the fact he was even alive to get into the Special Forces with some of the shit he's done. That great story about him just impaling himself on a railing in Edinburgh when he fell out of a window of the hotel he was trying to get back into because he'd forgotten his key. Just like, and his mate called his mum and said Tix is probably dead, and he was just in hospital. But so like everybody has a reason for leaving, and some of it is very serious in people like Foxy's case, because they were suicidal from the PTSD and the things that they'd done and experienced. It doesn't sound like, from what you've already said, maybe you just haven't said it, but you weren't as affected by the job that you did and the things that you saw and did from a mental point of view. But the way you're speaking, you seem fairly robust to that.
Maybe because I haven't let my feet touch the ground, and I don't know if that might manifest later on in life. I don't know.
You think there's a resilience? There's a resilience from your childhood that.
Well, no, I don't think it's like attached to kind of you build resilience and then it makes you sort of bulletproof or not susceptible to mental health issues. Unfortunately, and touch wood, I've never had any issues or thought I've had any issues. Now, maybe it's manifested in other ways, where there's a huge drinking culture in the military, quite similar to like rugby and professional sports. And that's the most time you sort of end up, the guys will then come out of their shells maybe slightly, or you sort of build trust and earn trust through kind of doing the job. But then also another part of that is drinking, that culture, and sort of opening up. And I've always thankfully felt okay, like I've not really had issues, but
there were plenty. I mean, we mustn't sort of pigeonhole it either, because there's a big swathe of people who come out of the military and they're fine. You know, and you could almost say that there's 60 or 70% walk out fine.
I think for me, it's just maintaining the things, or understanding myself well enough to know I have to do certain things to be the best version of myself, which then reflects into my life and my family and business. And for me, it's mainly centered around physical kind of activities, gym, running, walking the dog, basic things that I think. And for me, I'm trying to design the perfect life that I want, for me and for my family. Through the things that I do, and that's not necessarily climbing Everest. I'm not talking about that, but the small things, the daily things that I do in terms of health and fitness and well-being, and again, it's not fucking ice baths every morning and splashing water in my face and all that shit. For me, it's just the physical movement and being outdoors. I think is allowing myself to connect
it's a
with
huge
nature.
Thing, being outdoors, huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I start getting a bit cranky if I'm sort of London and routine that I don't like. I like sort of flexibility, and in the mornings, I generally I'm blocked out out. So sort of wake up at 6:30 and don't really turn up into work till 9:30. And that time's clear for me to do whatever the fuck I want. And usually it's filled with some form of exercise. Or it might be a day off and I want to take the kids to school and just sort of allow and be present. Which is hard, isn't it? This day and age, you're so connected to fucking everything.
But it's hard. But and that's partly, when we talk about riding motorcycles as well as being part of a thing. Like we rode today. I was laughing. I was talking onto the Senna because I said you're lucky enough to ride with lots of different people, and it's great fun to share that passion. And you can quickly figure out someone's riding ability. Quickly. And you can quickly find out that. And what's interesting is I very quickly I started to get your tell on when you were going to overtake or whatever, so I could preempt it and
it was
and
every
go with
given
you.
opportunity.
But there was well, I wasn't going to say that on television. But I could
safe overtaking. Is that what you meant?
And I was laughing. I was laughing because I was going to look, and here we go, and look, he's getting ready, and look, he's going to go, and in a minute he's going to go. There we go. And off he went, and I could read you like a book. It was hilarious.
Brilliant. I mean, you guys have so much experience.
It's fun, to do that. But that's I think that's one of the things that I learned hugely about doing longer journeys was being given the time to actually be able to think.
This idea that you just, if you want to make a business successful, you have to give everything. A bit like, your special forces career, that was very selfishly, purely focused on the job at hand. The reality is you can carve out 2 hours a day to spend with your kids and still clearly build a hugely successful business that's just going from strength to strength.
You've only got so much cognitive load a day, body battery, whatever you want to determine that as. And it's very true. And I want to touch on that bit again where you talked about, and I thought the same when I was on the bike, and when we were coming back, a big fucking smile on my face, and that connection that you feel, but you're solely focused on that one thing. And I know it sounds obvious, you're riding a bike, but you do think and wander off, but actually you feel that connection, and there's only a few things that you can do when you leave that give you that sense of kind of freedom and feeling, and it'd be that running or the gym, or for me it's jiu-jitsu. I did jiu-jitsu this morning and I fucking love it. It's like a game of chess with the guys, and looks like we're cuddling, but there's a lot going on.
To cuddle men.
It's cuddling men, so it's win-win. But it's brilliant, it's perpetual, it never ends. There's every time you get on a bike there's new experiences, new feelings, and new places that you can go.
But I think we all know, without really realizing it, all of us have been doing that for such a long time.
We call it mindfulness now.
And mindfulness
we just used
now,
to call it riding a bike.
I mean, I've been doing that since I was 6 years old. I've been doing that, without realizing it. But I think taking your point about having left the army and that it hasn't affected you as other people have, and you've just gotten on with your life.
But you haven't stopped as maybe. You literally haven't stopped since you left, have you?
But then if you're going to struggle, it's going to come through, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's like leaving anything, stopping being a professional sports person, or when your life you go from one career that's everything to something completely different. It's
you
like
invest
having
so
that
much.
purpose.
You invest so much of your identity to what you used to do, and that's probably the hardest part. You leave, and you're indoctrinated. That transition period was difficult.
Is there a sense of relief on your shoulders, or was it?
There was.
Was that because when you're in a situation
when you want to leave, you want to leave.
And
then you have to sort of save a little bit to do stuff, and leaving routines and everything else. And I don't know what I expected leaving. Stupidly, I thought I'd get the whole fucking trumpeted out the bag and roll the car. Spice, thanks, Staz, thank you, everybody saluting. But it was just like a normal day. It was like, I remember going to see the guy in the office, and I was like, is that it? Then he was like, yeah, that's you. Gives you, see you later. I was kind of like, oh fuck. A bit weird.
And
13 years, Queen and Country.
And he's on to everything else.
And then you're like,
and all the guns, and you're like, it's like, and the other one,
just handing it all in. But there is that as well. But it's crazy. But maybe it is. I then jumped straight into this, so it gave me another purpose, and then I had another thing to fucking really get the bit between my teeth and focus on. I want to mention quickly, if I can, please, the Mission Everest that we just did.
Because on paper, you said you're like, I can't do it next month because I'm going to Everest. I thought, okay, he's going to be away for ages. And then when I saw your Instagram, it's like, we did it in like 6 days, London and back.
We wanted to sort of highlight to the industry that there's a different way to climb high altitude mountaineering, mountains safely. So for us, it was get up and get back under 7 days. All 4 of us, all former British Special Forces guys, good team, all now obviously left. Get back within 7 days and sort of redefine high altitude mountaineering. And there's some things attached to that which I can touch on to in a minute. The second, which was probably the first, is to raise as much money as possible for veterans charities, in particular Scottish Little Soldiers that help bereaved military kids. Right. Obviously something very close to our own hearts. And Kev, who climbed with us, is one of the trustees there. And we've got a ball towards the end of the year. And then the next one was to raise the profiles of veterans as well. There's a kind of a bit of a stigma sometimes around us all being mad, bad and sad and and everything else. So for us, we just wanted to kind of really nail those 3 things. That idea and concept, and the other 2 was my personal reasons. One was fucking Thrudark, again, not just stand by the kit, stand in it. But what a testing ground, fucking Everest. So to really validate the kit.
I have to say, it looked incredible. The outfit you wore, it was just, not only was it, I'm sure, very functional, but it fucking looked cool as well, which
that's
is
part
important.
of it. I did say, if I'm going to die, I just want to look fucking cool.
But that's why I always say, if I'm going to go down the road, I want to slide and thinking this fucking hurts, but I look
great. I went out in a blaze of glory. And then the other one was, I think I mentioned it, I'm father of 3 boys, and I sort of thought, how can I inspire them through action rather than words? And we all know that words only go so far with boys, and they saw all the training and everything else that went into that. And then although the younger kids probably can't comprehend Everest and what it means, but I wanted to really show them through action. And then why or how did this come about? Like most good plans, too many beers in the fucking pub, which I wasn't at. I think Fox was at the time, but Kev and I were in a pub and they came up with the idea. I've personally always wanted to climb Everest. It is that, it'll always have that draw, that allure, that attraction.
Why?
It's the
Because
tallest
it's there,
fucking mountain and it's there. It's the adventure, everything else. But all of us couldn't justify spending 8 to 10 weeks away from our personal and professional lives. So I'd always just buried it. Like I can't spend 45 days, 8 weeks away. So it never really came up. And then we said, well, actually, we think we can do this quicker. So Garth, who climbed with us, he holds the current fastest known time. At the time, it was 21 days. And he sort of came to us and said, look, I think we can do this fucking quicker. If everything lines up logistically, the weather gods are on our side, and basically everything lines up, we can do this. So, okay, let's do this. Too many beers. You wake up in the morning, you're in a fucking WhatsApp group. Oh, what have you signed up to? And then we started putting it all like plan to action, or action to plan, working back, sort of very military precision. Right, let's really break this down. Let's get the right tour guys, right people. When can we do this? And this was kind of January time. So then, ordinarily on these trips, why it takes so long, you have to go out to Everest and you're acclimatized. So typically, us as humans, we're not designed to operate at high altitude environments. So people go out
water
there.
in the lungs as well when you get to a certain height.
Exactly. The 3 main killers are haze, HAPE, and acute mountain sickness. But HAPE is the one you mentioned there, pulmonary edema, and cerebral edema, brain swelling and everything else. Not good things to happen, but that's what happens generally. And that's increased if you climb quickly as well, so speed. For us, we didn't have the time to go out there to acclimatise as a normal expedition would, so we pre-acclimatised here in the UK. What that looks like, a tent, a normal sort of looking tent that you go fucking camping with. That was over the spare bed. That wasn't going over the main bed. The missus wouldn't be happy. But it goes under the mattress. It's hermetically sealed. It just looks like a normal tent. Air out. Basically sucks the oxygen out. It reduces the amount of oxygen in the air. Little R2D2 looking machine. And every day you put the settings on, and you slowly increase, reduce oxygen, increase altitude, simulated altitude. The body has a physiological adaptation or response
and you're just
to
sitting,
that.
lying there.
You sleep in it.
Oh, you sleep in it. So you're doing the...
Which is fucking miserable.
Well, yeah.
It's miserable, Charlie.
But at the same time, you're acclimatizing while you're sleeping.
Yeah. So your body
you're not wasting time.
No, every night, and we had to do a minimum of 450 hours in that tent before they'd even let us on the mountain. Lucas and Furtenbach Adventures, the team. Every morning we put the data into a spreadsheet. The doctor checks it. Okay, your SPO, your blood level, all your oxygen in your blood is this. Okay, you can go up a little bit higher. No, you've got to stay here for another couple of days. Then you can go higher. And we did this for fucking 3 months, 4 months, and slowly getting higher. We did this simulated altitude rotations as well. So when you're out there, you do rotations up and down the mountain. If you're on the mountain, that's dangerous, in our opinion. You have to pass through the Cumber Icefall, which is the most dangerous part. It's a shifting glacier. And then ordinarily you'd think, oh, if I can train hard today, train for 2-3 hours, whatever, I can't wait to get in bed tonight. Then you get in the fucking tent. That thing literally sucks the life and oxygen out of you. So you sort of end up burning the candle at both ends, if you will.
Wow.
Which was probably the hardest part of it for me personally, I think for the rest of the guys as well. But we also then controversially went out to Germany 4 weeks before we went out to the mountain, and we inhaled xenon gas. So xenon gas, it's a noble gas, it's in the atmosphere. It's been used since I think the 50s or 60s, typically in anaesthesia. It's also in car headlights. They use it for space propulsion, all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. The reason they really stopped using it in the NHS is because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
But if you have a serious issue with brain or lungs, like a serious RTA, or, for example, you know, a massive bleed or swell to the brain, they'll put you under with xenon gas because it has fantastic neuroprotective properties. So Dr. Michael Fries in Germany, he was the doctor that approached the company and said, look, I think we could use this for high altitude mountaineering. It would increase the safety of people climbing. Right. So they're doing some other testing at the moment.
Well, was he interested in getting involved with you guys because of what you wanted?
What you were trying.
They'd already been doing it. They'd already been
Right.
trialing it and doing it.
Okay.
So we found out about this method through Lucas, and he'd done it as well to great effect. Very small kind of test case scenario, but they were like, and also it's worth saying that xenon has no side effects, like nothing bad, no side effects. And as soon as you come off it, you're kind of back to normal.
Is it easy to make, or is that the expensive part?
That's the expensive part,
Yeah.
and then to bottle it up. But for us there, it was about increasing safety. It wouldn't make us quicker, but it could increase safety for us. So neuroprotective properties, and Kev actually has a TBI, he got shot in the head. So he's doing some other research with these guys as well. They're also using it with Alzheimer's at the moment as well, having
really?
great
Yeah.
effect. So for us it was kind of, look, it's not gonna, that isn't the magic.
It's not gonna,
it's a
but
30-minute exposure.
It's not going to hurt you either.
Exactly, and it could increase safety. So we only have our own kind of experience in terms of how of the effects of that. But when we were out on the mountain, you know, because people have been there that long, their bodies are degrading. They're all fucking headaches. They're all coughing up blood. A lot of people are not in a good way, and we felt fine. Not one headache between all four of us. You know, I think the Sherpas were constantly checking everything. Good, you feel good.
Yeah.
We're fucking fine. We feel great. We had SpO2 monitors inbuilt into our gloves with heart rate monitors on. Doctor in base camp checking us out. Mammograms, like urine tests, blood tests, all this kind of stuff. And for us, it was. We're not now saying that should redefine.
That was a huge investment. A huge undertaking.
Yeah, and we just wanted to say, look, this isn't how people should, you know, climb now, but potentially it could save lives. And
There's definitely elements that people can take on board into their own.
for sure. For us, it was about minimising the waste and trace on the mountain. So we were a carbon negative expedition as well, which is worth noting. And for us, it was less time on. Speed was safety in that instance. We're all on oxygen as well, supplemented oxygen. And thankfully for us, you know, we flew from Heathrow, you know, Kathmandu to Lukla into base camp.
You flew into base camp.
Yeah.
Chopping
And then
in.
from base
Chopping
camp,
yeah.
and then from base camp, we didn't even spend a night in base camp. That evening, we got all our kit on through the Cumber Icefall, heading up to Camp 1. We got caught in an avalanche as well, which was pretty gnarly. Sort of dusted ourselves off, up to Camp 2, all the way up, 3, 4, evening at 4. And there's also a bit of bad press around how kind of busy it is up there at the moment. You see those fucking images, we've all seen them of the big queues, because it's just a knife ridge. There's only one fixed line as well. There's nowhere to move around, unfortunately. There's a huge group in front of us, a day in front of us, that we could sort of see little ants walking up the hill, 200 people. We look behind, 150, and we're sort of beautifully placed in between these two groups. Great planning by the team. We end up at Camp 4. And it's also worth mentioning, you're in the death zone there, there's fucking dead bodies everywhere. There's a guy that had frozen, I think, hours before we got there, just literally sat in place and frozen in time, you know.
Yeah. And no one's going to take them down, really.
No.
They're just up there forever, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? What's that pass that you go up at the top and you pass that?
Green Boots, you know, there's a famous, you know, people there that have been frozen in time for years. But for us, the Camp 4, to do the summit push, we looked at the weather models and we thought, you know, fortune, our sort of strap line was fortune favours the brave. We were all happy, content, we were strong, fit, you know, not your average kind of punters. And we pushed through some pretty extreme weather for a few hours.
But you had the cognitive capacity to deal with it.
Yeah, and knowing that it would die down, or that was, and if it didn't, we could
that was the forecast.
And and it's dark as well. We went through the night. That summit push from Camp 4 up to summit, and then we ended up going back to Camp 2 is an 18-hour day. So it's a steady day, and the sun comes up. Everything's fucking great, isn't it? When the sun comes up, you know, everything looks and feels better at that point.
Yeah.
And we had the whole fucking ridgeline to ourselves as well, and it was just incredible, you know, to sort of deliver the mission and everything, and then sort of, you know, come back and now the sort of real sort of Everest mission starts of raising. We've set a quite a bold target of raising £1 million. I think we're at 100 at the moment, 100,000. So we've got balls and dinners and events and corporate things to sort of try and catch that up.
Do you?
God, well done.
Do you feel like?
Congratulations. I mean
that's so fast. Does it feel real? Do you feel like when you think back do you remember being there?
Yeah, it was a bit crazy. Yeah.
But what do people? You know, you've rewritten the record books by fucking weeks. How has the climbing community taken it? Really
split opinions, and unfortunately, a lot of it was on the Wall Street Journal, New York Times. It went big,
viral, yeah.
And most people just leaned into
full head to toe in THRUDARK.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah. But unfortunately, what they dialed into was, you know, it also Special Forces great, but they just leaned into Xenon and said controversy of Xenon, and what they started saying. Some of the reports were saying it's banned by WADA, you know, as in Olympic, you know, you can't use it in the Olympics. But you can't use pure oxygen in the Olympics either. Yeah. So everybody's on fucking supplemented oxygen.
Climbing a mountain.
Yeah. So there was a lot of misinformation. People thought we were taking a mixed gas on the mountain.
That's the problem with all of it is, and that's why I never. I post stuff and never read the comments Fire and forget, because there's always someone, and you know, the person who shouts the loudest is usually a person using a pseudonym or something like that, and they're hiding behind something. So it's very easy to. So if you find out who that person was, you knocked on their door, and you said, look, you said this. Yeah. Oh no! Well, I didn't mean it. It's not
like anything. Any sports go through these period of evolutions, jealousy. And mountaineering at the moment, you know, Nims and then Christina and you guys just, you know, there was Uri Steck, was it the guy that just started running up the north face of the Eiger, and everyone went, you can't do it. It takes 3 days to do it, and he did it in like 12 hours. And there's all, you know, things get progressed and pushed on. It feels like mountaineering is going through that stage. Technology and, you know, advanced science around neurology and physiology.
But you know, the other thing is, if Scott of the Antarctic
could have done it
when
quicker,
he went out, and if someone said to him, look, there's this fangled thing called a GPS, do you want to take it with you? You know,
give me some of that.
He'd take everything.
You're right, though.
Yeah, I can't be mad. Edward Hillary would have been like, no, it's all right. I'll keep the tweed.
Yeah.
You know, and all the ropes, and we'll do it over a couple of months. Don't worry. I don't want the kit.
Of course, you're going to take everything that's available to you.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. There's lots of examples. Roger Bannister, 4-minute mile. He got beastie because he used a pacer. You know, and all these kind of things.
No, listen, congratulations. You know, and everyone asked me when I did the Dakar Rally.
Ding, 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 ding. I need a button.
They said to me, would you do it again? And so, would you do it again?
Absolutely not. No. It wasn't the hardest thing that I've done, and it's not the hardest thing. It's probably one of the hardest things I've done since I left the military. I found Ahmedablam harder, which is in East Nepal. It's a 7,000 meter peak. It's more technical.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on everything you've done, you know, THRUDARK, and thank you for I know it sounds very cheesy, but thank you for your contributions to the military and for your service. I mean, you know, without you and all your colleagues, you know, we wouldn't be where we wouldn't be happily safe in Britain. So thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That was The Nod. That was Staz. I'm Ben Bowers. You're Charlie Borman.
I am.
Thanks for listening.
But there's a few people we have to thank as well, isn't there? Isn't there Quadlock?
Well, there are, yeah. Well? That's in the next bit.
Oh, is that the next bit?
That's in the next bit, yeah.
Okay. Let's do the next
bit. It's not
bit.
actually, but let's... Oh, yeah, there you go. Supported by Quadlock.
Quadlock, yeah.
Thanks to Quadlock.
Thanks to Quadlock.
Oh, and if you're interested, you can get Nod stickers now. I'm not sure how you get them, because I've got them, but... We'll work that out. We'll find a way. If you want some stickers, we'll send you some stickers. I That's going to get expensive
on
quite
your
quickly,
coin,
isn't it?
and you know, you had them printed up.
We're going to
You
think
sell
about
them
that.
out.
We'll get back to you on that strategy.
I'm not gonna do
but
that.
thanks to Quadlock.
If you send in a post-addressed envelope, we'll put them in. Do you remember back in the old days?
They will set up a PO box address.
PO box or self-addressed,
self-sealed
envelope.
Yeah, great. We'll get back to you on that one. I haven't thought that one through properly, clearly. Do join us next week. Check us out on Instagram at the Nod Pod.
Yep.
Follow us. Subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching this. Hit the bell, remind all that stuff. And then if you can make some comments, nice ones or otherwise, we'll read the nice ones. That would be great. It all helps with
We've never read them.
the algorithms. I read them.
Oh, I see. I mean, read them out. You mean?
Oh, no, we can
no.
read. Yeah, we'll
It
read the
was
bad
like,
ones
oh,
out.
no,
Yeah. Anyway, join us next time.
Yeah.
We're just going to stop this.
Thank
now.
you again.
Until then, stay safe, be kind, and check in with a mate.
In the pub.
In the pub or anywhere, really.